Hello, Mr. Samsonite. Thank you for seeing me again this week. I hope that you've had a good week since I saw you last. I know that whenever we left off last week, we were talking about some of the problems that you'd been having at work. I know that you were trying to get promoted to head back of the house for cooking at Red Lobster. And so I remember you talking about some of those barriers, and I wanted to maybe see if we could process through some of those this week. Is that a good starting place for you today?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, tell me a little bit about how work is going and like what you're finding an issue.
I've been procrastinating like a mug at work. I just keep putting things off till the very last minute. Um, I just get so overwhelmed with everything that it's easier to just avoid it. And but then that makes me feel like terrible, and it just kind of starts the cycle where I beat myself up and then go back to the contemplating and procrastinating. And
Yeah. Um, Thank you for sharing that. I can tell that that feels a little bit heavy when you share. Okay, so I want to start by looking at some of the thoughts that come up for you whenever you're thinking about, like, whenever you know you have a task to do and the procrastination is starting. Like when we're first sitting down and it's like, okay, I have these things to do. Like, what comes to your mind? Like, what are your thoughts?
well, I start to think about the task and everything I'm going to have to do to complete it, which most of the tasks that I have are pretty hard. And so that immediately makes me feel like I'll never do it good enough. And that's where the spiral starts.
Yeah, I that kind of hurts my feelings that you that you kind of struggle like that because I believe that you are very capable or you wouldn't be up for that promotion. So I hear that there's the initial thought that the task is too hard and that why even start? Because I might not even be good enough. I want to challenge that with a little bit of CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, that we've been talking about. And I want to look at this a little bit more closely. Is there any evidence that like can prove that you might not be enough, or are these thoughts? Like, can you give me any facts that says you're not good enough?
Well, my boss has never really complained about my work. Like, I've never gotten negative feedback about anything that I've done. In fact, most of the feedback I've gotten has been pretty positive, but I don't know. I still worry every time.
Yeah, so we still have those in thoughts, that thought pattern. So even though you've received a positive feedback, you said, my boss actually said I was doing good, like he didn't tell me I was like doing shitty or I couldn't throw that 50-pound potato sack over my shoulder. In fact, I think he said I did a good job lifting that. Um, so even though, you're throwing the potato sacks and you're doing what you need to do and you're making your times, you still have the thought that I might not be good enough. What
Yeah.
would happen, follow me here, if you replace that thought with something a little more fruitful? For instance, instead of thinking, I'll never do it well enough, what's a thought that maybe would like encourage you to start?
Well, I guess it would just be to kind of let myself know that I know what I'm doing, I know I'm capable of doing it, and that if I run into something I don't know how to do, I have other people I can ask for help from, and that's okay.
And that sounds very doable. And maybe let's get a little more excited in your head. So like, let's pump you up a little bit because we're going for this promotion. Maybe you can think, I throw these potatoes around like a boss. My boss believes in me. I believe in me. And we just start to reframe that process. And it doesn't have to be as peppy as me. I'm sure your internal voice probably doesn't sound like, go me. But that's kind of like what we're going here for, is to change, that thought process that you're not good enough, because you very much are.
Yeah, I can get down with that.
Okay. So if we can start to think about a task as in like, I got this, like I'm about to make this my biatch. Does that make you a little more excited to start the task versus, yeah, I'm just gonna fuck this up? Like, I probably don't even want to start. Like, which one feels better for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely makes me feel more motivated.
Yeah, good, because you have a little more control over the situation in this way. Um, okay, so let's talk about breaking down that task into like some smaller steps so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Would you like to start this strategy this week of the reframing, and then next week we will go over how to break down that task so it just doesn't feel so big?
Yeah, I think that could help a lot. I'll give it a try and we can check in with the progress next week.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you checking in with me this week. I'm rooting for you to get that job head of the back of the house. Like, I think you're going to be Red Lobster's MVP of the year. Yeah, that's what I'm shooting for. So, yeah, I hope that you have a good rest of your week, and you let me know if you need anything between then. Homework is going to be reframe on procrastination tactics. And next week, we're going to try to break that down to be a little more simple. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. I hope you have a good afternoon, and I will see you later.
You too.
And then I'm supposed to tell
Okay.
you what technique that we're using, which I use the CBT technique. And I tried to replace the negative thought processes with a more balanced perspective, suggesting that we can change our behavioral steps to make tasks feel a little less overwhelming, kind of like breaking down our task, kind of like we do with our goals as we put them into objectives so they can be reachable. Yeah, thank you.